In the heart of Los Angeles, amidst the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, a chilling mystery erupted from the shadows, a mystery that has haunted the city for decades. One name stirs whispers in dimly lit rooms and echoes through the streets of glamour and despair: Elizabeth Short, more infamously known as the Black Dahlia. It was January 15, 1947, when her lifeless body was discovered, severed at the waist and left to wilt in a vacant lot. But how did a young aspiring actress become the iconic figure of a grisly murder that remains unsolved to this day? If you think you know the story, hold on tight. There are layers upon layers of intrigue, scandal, and conspiracy just waiting to unfold. You might be wondering what makes this case so significant, so compelling even after all these years. The Black Dahlia case is not just a murder, it's a Hollywood nightmare that intertwines crime, mystery, and the peculiar underbelly of a glamorous society. By delving deeper into this enigma, you'll uncover not only the grim details of the crime itself but also the haunting impact it left on the world. Get ready to traverse a path filled with extraordinary revelations about Elizabeth's life, the investigation, and the impact of a case that gripped a nation. At first glance, Elizabeth Short seemed merely like a struggling actress, chasing her dreams in the sprawling metropolis of Los Angeles. However, her life was anything but ordinary. Raised in a small town in Massachusetts, she moved to Los Angeles with high hopes of making it big in Hollywood. But there was something deeper, something darker about her that would soon be laid bare. You'll find that her story is woven with threads of heartbreak, ambition, and tragedy, an adventure marked by the bright lights of Hollywood juxtaposed with the chilling whisper of death. What if I told you that the very name Black Dahlia was a fabrication, a title spun from the media's relentless desire for sensationalism? It was a name inspired by the 1946 film The Blue Dahlia, and the press seized upon it, painting Elizabeth as a black-clad femme fatale. What did this branding do? It catapulted the mystery into the realm of the extraordinary, but also stripped Elizabeth of her identity and humanity, reducing her to a mere character in a horror story. As the investigation unfolded, it became evident that the case was bursting with oddities. Riveting tales materialized from credible sources, and law enforcement received a torrent of tips. One particularly shocking revelation: a series of phone calls from someone claiming to be the killer. The police received admissions, taunts, and manipulated leads, further entangling the pursuit of justice. You might be asking yourself, how could a killer toy with the police in such a twisted game? The answer lies in the morbid fascination that crime often incites, not just in the criminals but also in society's subconscious. Increasingly, the notion that this could be the work of a serial killer began to take root in the collective psyche. It wasn't just Elizabeth Short whose life was dictated by fate. Many other women were found dead under similar circumstances during this time frame, prompting fears that a dark specter was roaming the streets of Los Angeles. The grim realization that someone operated in the shadows sparked both fear and intrigue, gripping the city and igniting a media frenzy. And while Elizabeth Short was effectively immortalized through the morbid lens of the press, the questions continued to spiral. Who was she? Why was she targeted? And who was responsible for this brutal act? As detectives scoured through the evidence, one could only imagine the atmosphere in the police stations buzzing with trepidation and urgency. Eyewitness accounts turned into puzzling inconsistencies. There were those who claimed to have seen her getting into a car with a man just a day before her murder. Others reported hearing muffled screams in the night. Every lead seemed to close doors rather than open them, haunting remnants of a mystery that turned the city upside down, with a populace craving resolution. But understanding the investigation requires diving even deeper. Among the many shocking facts surrounding Elizabeth's death is an equally disturbing involvement of the press. Investigative journalism in the 1940s had a feral quality. Sensational headlines blurred the line between fact and fiction. Within days of the murder, newspapers plastered graphic details of the crime scene, exposing the public to a lurid spectacle that was more about selling papers than seeking justice. This consummate erosion of dignity, coupled with the fervor for gory details, transformed Elizabeth from a victim into an obsession. Could it be that the thirst for her story led to a distortion of the truth, making the investigation that much harder? Furthermore, the narratives surrounding Elizabeth do not merely encapsulate her death, they tell a larger story about the value society places on women, especially in a world defined by male dominance. Elizabeth was painted as the quintessential bad girl, a label that clashed violently with her true self. By examining her life through this lens, perhaps we take our first steps toward comprehending the true tragedy of her fate. With aspirations of being an actress, she was forced to navigate a world hungry for beauty, where dreams could quickly become a trap. But what about the people she knew, the relationships she forged? New evidence surfaced tying her to an array of intriguing characters, a club owner, an aspiring filmmaker, even mobsters lingering in the shadows. Each connection offered tantalizing clues and seeping suspicion. You might find yourself wondering, did one of these relationships hold the key to cracking the case? And what kind of darkness lingered in Hollywood, cloaked under the glittering surface of fame and fortune? Consider, for a moment, the reaction of the public to the crime. The everyday lives of countless Angelenos were disrupted as the city transformed into a hotbed of speculation and anxiety. Each gruesome detail invited scrutiny, transforming ordinary citizens into amateur sleuths scrambling to connect the dots. What inherent need is so strong within us that we are compelled to seek out the most sordid tales of crime? The Black Dahlia case gripped the nation's imagination because it pushed boundaries and left us reeling. The brutality, the unanswered questions, the overarching idea that the truth lurked somewhere in the vast sea of misinformation was a haunting arrangement. What if the truth was more sinister than any fiction could present? What if those closest to Elizabeth were hiding secrets, complicating the investigation even further? As potential suspects emerged, each with their own motives and alibis, an entire universe of theories exploded around them. And isn't it true that everyone loves a good conspiracy? But the world of baseless rumors and sensational speculations presented its challenges. It clouded the pursuit of justice and transformation into a cacophony of disbelief. Continuing to unravel the tale, the investigation began to excavate intricacies of human relationships. In those months following Elizabeth's death, several individuals claimed to have known her intimately, creating a complex web of connections that baffled detectives. Among them were folks from Hollywood's glamorous elite, suggesting that the murderer may have been a part of the very fabric of the society that welcomed her. You might be astonished to learn that there were even letters, alleged communications from the killer, sent to the press, claiming responsibility for the murder and challenging law enforcement at every turn. What does that say about the psyche of one who takes pleasure in a crime so heinous as to capture the attention of an entire country? Yet, as the investigations continued, many dead ends followed. Why would someone send letters, gloating, if they weren't confident in their ability to evade capture? Could it be that this crafted persona, the Black Dahlia killer, was designed to both entice and repel, serving a twisted narrative in the roller coaster that was post-war America? Each development added complexity to the already convoluted case, embedding new questions into a mystery that seemed unsolvable. The more you peel back the layers, the more intricate the reality becomes. In the decades that followed, interest in the Black Dahlia case only intensified. Books, documentaries, and films have sought to navigate the fog surrounding Elizabeth's murder, each interpretation revealing a new perspective yet often falling short of resolution. For people interested in real crime, every retelling poses the question, why are we so captivated by stories like Elizabeth's? Is it the unsolved nature of the case? The seeming lack of progress despite the resources available? Or is it simply the desire to untangle a story that resists closure, stubbornly refusing to fade into the background of history? Each false lead, every fleeting suspect, has helped inscribe Elizabeth Short's name into the annals of American folklore. A haunting scar remains on the consciousness of not just Los Angeles but society at large. And what of the countless lives entwined in this macabre dance of fate and failure? the detectives who pursued leads that inevitably dissolved, the reporters who made a career out of an unsolved murder, and the many individuals who claimed to know the enigmatic Elizabeth? Their lives would forever be touched by this nightmarish tale, steeped in both allure and sorrow. So far, we've explored the surface of the Black Dahlia case, a mere glimpse that whets the appetite for more. The truth remains veiled, a tantalizing mystery that continues to lure those who seek clarity amidst chaos. As we continue our pursuit, prepare yourself for more shocking twists, potential suspects, and revelations that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about this tangled web. The journey into the heart of darkness will maintain its grip on you, revealing aspects of society you never imagined existed alongside the shimmering facade of Hollywood. Stay tuned, because when we delve into the second part, we'll peel back even more layers to reveal the darkness lurking behind the scenes, theories that challenge accepted beliefs, suspects who may be lurking in the shadows, and a conclusion that may just upend everything you've come to know. The unraveling of this unsolved case is just beginning. Prepare to uncover the raw truths that haunt the legacy of the Black Dahlia, and join us again as we seek not just answers but also the echoes of Elizabeth Short's story that still resonate in our world today. In delving deeper into the layers surrounding the Black Dahlia case, we begin to encounter a plethora of theories that have emerged over the decades. Each one is as riveting as it is perplexing, manifesting the intrigue and obsession that Elizabeth Short's story commands. Among these theories, one of the most persistent points to potential suspects within her circle, a tapestry of relationships interwoven with ambition, envy, and betrayal. Let us scrutinize one of the more prominent figures who frequented Elizabeth's life, George Hodel. A doctor with an enigmatic reputation, George Hodel easily slipped through the shadows of society, a man connected to the elite yet bearing whispers of darkness. His name resurfaced in conversations surrounding the Black Dahlia case, particularly fueled by claims made in a 2003 documentary, The Black Dahlia Murder, which proposed his substantial involvement in the gruesome crime. This theory was accentuated by a peculiar link. Hodel's son, Steve Hodel, would later embark on his own investigation, uncovering alleged incriminating evidence against his father. He claimed that George Hodel exhibited behaviors and characteristics consistent with those expected of a killer, particularly in regards to women. Compounding the issue, he disclosed that his father's home in Los Angeles matched the described crime scene and, crucially, that there were photographs of Elizabeth discovered in the estate. A chilling notion takes root here. Imagine a universe where those we trust or admire harbor secrets darker than we could ever fathom. As unsettling as it may sound, this theory transforms George Hodel from a detached bystander into a potential orchestrator of horror. He was known for having held parties with elite guests, where the underbelly of Hollywood often intermingled with the glamorous surface. Was Elizabeth merely a pawn in a broader game, an emblematic representation of the broken dreams that Hollywood notoriously produced? As we sift through these theories, the web expands, drawing in a multitude of individuals who encountered Elizabeth Short. One such individual was believed to be a man named Red Manley, who was identified by some as the last person who allegedly saw her alive. Manley initially came forward as a helpful witness, claiming that he picked her up in a cafe and spent some time together. However, the narrative became convoluted when Manley showed signs of potential complicity. Some speculated that he may have been involved in a romantic relationship with her that turned sour, feeding into the specter of rage and passion that so often haunts cases of violent crime. Others alleged that he was merely an innocent man caught in the turbulent tide of suspicion, the very image of a man dragged into a dark situation dictated by those lurking much deeper in the shadows. It seems that in a scenario as layered and intricate as this, anyone could potentially be implicated. Each connection, each fleeting glimpse into Elizabeth's life, opens a new door to understanding her struggles. And one cannot forget the singer and potential mobster, Johnny Stompanato, who purportedly had a relationship with Elizabeth. The echoes of this connection reverberate with questions about whether someone affiliated with organized crime could have played a role in her tragic end. On the surface, these connections may seem disjointed, but they unveil a common theme, a darker reflection of Hollywood, where ambition coexists with desperation, love with betrayal. One can't help but watch in morbid fascination as the various players flit in and out of the tragic narrative, their lives intertwining in a way that seems eerily choreographed. But as leads dwindled and hope began flickering, we must also consider the cultural zeitgeist enveloping post-war America during this period. The late 1940s were rife with social upheaval, a time when traditional gender roles were being challenged, and women were grappling with new identities while still tethered to deeply ingrained societal expectations. The history of misogyny and the objectification of women hints at an unsettling truth, the way in which stories like Elizabeth's become shorthand for the struggles endured by women as they fought for agency in a world that often reduced them to mere symbols. The Black Dahlia stands as a stark reminder of the commodification of female suffering and the subsequent exploitation that burgeoned as society sought to revel in blood-soaked narratives. Could it be that Elizabeth was not merely a victim of a brutal killer, but of a broader societal structure? With her dreams crushed, she became a metaphor, an embodiment of the darker aspects of ambition and the price it can exact. A life spent chasing the ephemeral glimmers of Hollywood, ultimately leading to an unceremonious end and an unforgiving landscape. The media fascination with her image spoke volumes about the larger conversations that permeated through the cracks of the investigations. With time, the world continued to respond to the faceless specter of Elizabeth Short. As she lingered in the collective consciousness, she became a persona gracing new interpretations, the subject of novels, movies, and documentaries that sought to wrap the narrative in both tragedy and allure. These mediums absorbed her essence and distilled it into tales that often overshadowed the tragic human at the heart of it all. But each interpretation plays a role, the continuous churn of representation that fuels fascination with mystery and crime. The obsession is magnified in a society that values stories of resurrection, intrigue, and the darkest facets of human nature. Yet, among the hype, did we lose sight of Elizabeth? Did her image become a mere reflection of our need to sensationalize rather than a genuine exploration of her life and struggles? Let us pause and reflect upon those left behind, the family she departed from, the friends she made, the romances she explored. They share the burden of loss intertwined with the weight of unfulfilled potential. Who would Elizabeth have been had her life taken a different turn? What stories could she have shared? The trappings of fame and ambition intermingled in a haunting ballet, revealing much about the allure of that elusive night in January, the night that would change everything. In grappling with the complexities of the investigation, one must face the overwhelming cacophony of conjecture surrounding the case. For decades, the raw manhunt behind the killer shifted direction with every false lead, marginalizing the essence of a woman whose life has become a canvas painted with scandal and deception. The pursuit of truth became mired in the murky waters of notoriety, leaving neither the victim nor the criminals untouched. As we draw closer to the conclusion of this troubling narrative, one must ask, what does it mean to seek closure? The Black Dahlia case remains a lingering specter, an unresolved chapter in the annals of crime that invites us to speculate and theorize, challenging our understanding of morality and justice. The question looms, is it enough to simply know the story, or is it the heart-wrenching complexity that propels us towards deeper truths? We have ventured through the labyrinthine paths of the Black Dahlia case, traversing the lives intertwined with Elizabeth Short, the cultural implications wrapped around her legacy, and the seething underbelly of a society incapable of reconciling with its darkest fears. The beauty that drew her into the arms of Hollywood also bore witness to the ugliness lurking beneath, a stark reminder of the duality of fame. Perhaps we will never know who killed Elizabeth Short. But as her story continues to unfold, it begs for a reconsideration of our engagement with tales of tragedy. It calls on society to recognize the fibers that can twist our narratives toward exploitation. By forging connections between the grotesque and the glamorous, we peel back yet another layer of a city married to secrets, a city that'll forever wrestle with the shadows cast by one dark night in January. As the final curtain falls, one must wonder whether Elizabeth's story is merely a morgue of whispers or a clarion call for understanding the depths of humanity. With her as our guide, we look beyond the crime, discovering that in the threads of her life, we discern reflections of our society's struggles, an indelible mark on our conscience that echoes still. The enigma of the Black Dahlia will forever resonate, a haunting melody telling us not just of a woman lost, but also of the truths we dare not confront,